Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I have for you guys the soup Joumou. Tomorrow is Haitian Independence Day, also New Year, and this is the soup we normally eat. Now, I'm going to use some beef stew meat, and I'm also going to be using some oxtails. It's just a personal preference of mine, but you can use whatever meat you want, or you don't have to put any meat in this at all. Now, this is the way that I was taught to cook it, so I'm going to show you guys my way. Keep in mind, other people cook this differently, or some of them may cook it like me, but I'm showing you guys my way. So I have some épices here, some lime juice, some red wine vinegar, and some spices that I normally use. I'll put the link in the description box because I already showed you guys how I prep this meat, so I'm not going to go into detail. Look for it in the description box, and I'll also have it on the information icon for you guys. So what I did, I went and marinated my meat, and I kept it in the refrigerator overnight just so it could be very well seasoned. But I went ahead and cooked my oxtails in my slow cooker during the night. So that's what I did, because oxtails take forever to cook. So I did a shortcut and just cooked it overnight. Now for the recipe for this soup, what you're going to need, it may look like a lot, but no worries. So you're gonna need some potatoes. You're gonna need some cabbage. I have some rigatoni macaroni, and I'm using the German version of the vermicelli, which is the thin spaghetti. It's not really like angel hair, but you know, a little similar. I have some celery. I have some carrots. Now, we normally would use the acorn squash. Well, I'm gonna have it up on the screen for you guys. But I couldn't find the acorn squash. It looked like that. So I'm using the butternut instead. It's the same thing, really. There's no big difference. If you can't find the acorn, use the butternut squash. Everything will be fine. And I have some cloves here that I went ahead and already punctured to my habanero pepper. And I have some thyme that I'm going to put in the soup. Okay, so you're also gonna need a 8-quart pot. Well, at least I'm using an 8-quart one, a medium one to cook my squash in. I have a blender to blend the squash. So I'm adding some water to my meat, and I'm going to let it cook. While I let it cook, I'm gonna go ahead and start prepping the rest of the vegetables and stuff like that. So I went ahead and check it here and see that my meat was pretty much getting tender. So I know I have to, you know, speed up the process to getting everything in the pot. Now I'm gonna put some salt right here in this water, and that's for the butternut squash. I'm going to cut it, remove the seeds and the guts from the inside, peel it, and then we're going to put it in our pot and boil it. And this is my mom's method. That's how I was taught. I do know some people, they normally would just peel it and then go straight to blending it. But the way my mom taught me is to boil it first. And then once it's tender, you don't need it to be like crumbling. But once the squash is tender, then that's when I'm gonna go ahead and blend mine. Alright guys, so go ahead and add it in the water so it can cook. And then I'm going to take my oxtails and add it with the rest of that beef stew meat that I have cooking already. Like I said before, you don't have to add oxtails to this, but it's just a preference of mine. I like the extra flavor that it gives the soup, and so therefore that's why I'm adding the oxtails. Once I add that in, I'm gonna go ahead and add more water. And I'm also going to be adding some adobo and creole seasoning, and I'm going to let that simmer while I get the rest of my vegetables ready. Alright, so at this time, I'm going to go ahead and cut up some celery and add it in. Not a lot of people like celery. I know I don't, but don't skip that part out. Put the celery in. It is very essential to the flavors of the soup. You don't want to not put those in. Put them in, and I'm also going to put my carrots in. Carrots take a little bit longer to cook than the other vegetables that we're going to be adding in our soup. That's why I went ahead and add my carrots first, just so they can be tender by the time everything else is done cooking. Alright, so now while we let that simmer, let's go ahead and start with our butternut squash. They're already tender at this point, so I'm gonna go ahead and add it in my blender, and I'm going to blend it, and then you can just pour it in. I went and used a drainer just because I really don't like pulp, guys, so I was just trying to make sure that there weren't any, and there wasn't. So I went and add that in. Now I'm going to add my potatoes and cabbage. What you want to do is you want to add your potatoes and cabbage at that point, because you want to give it at least 5 minutes before you add your pasta in next. So this part is optional, but I'm adding my habanero and my fresh thyme just to make sure all my flavors are tied together, and so it could have just a tiny hint of spice to it. Now the reason why we add our pasta last is because we're not gonna drain the pasta out of the water, so it's gonna thicken up the soup, and you don't want your pasta to be gooey. You want it to be just right. So those 12 minutes that it takes the pasta to cook, that's gonna be the last 12 minutes of this soup. Once you add your pasta in, give it a stir and just let it do its thing. Don't bother it, put it on low and let it simmer. And that's it. Also, be sure to taste your soup and make sure it's the flavors you are looking for. This is Haitian's favorite soup. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen plenty of videos on YouTube here about it. A lot of memes going on Facebook. This is our favorite pastime to celebrate our Independence Day every year, January 1st. So I have to keep that tradition going. And that's pretty much it, guys. So go ahead and let it simmer and just taste it one last time to make sure your noodles are cooked. Everything should be done at this point. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. And this is what the soup looked like, guys. Happy New Year. Happy Haitian Independence Day to you all. Until next time, bye.